I am Dana Foster. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Hope During the Holidays. My hope is that you can find a little inspiration and some support during the holidays or on this segment while listening to experts and people that are sharing their story of mental health and recovery. And if you have a story that you would like to share, or you're an expert in the field of recovery and wellness, you can always email me at dana@fostermediagroup.ca. So tonight we are joined with Desert Tiger podcaster Colton is joining us tonight, and I'm excited to share this inspiring story with you, how he turned an accident that happened into a podcast and the whole new community of support of recovery and wellness. So let's take a look tonight. And we are now joined with Colton of the Desert Tiger podcast. Colton, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, hello, Dana. It is such a pleasure to be able to join you here today during the holidays.
Yeah. So, can you tell us your story of hope?
Um, in a short form, we'll do our best to. I'm, like she said, my name's Colton Geschwaner. I'm 31 years old. My story of hope is I am a recovered alcoholic. I am somebody who has been dealing with anxiety and depression since probably about the ages of 13. I've had PTSD for the last 7 years after experiencing an on-site work accident where I got almost crushed by 10,000 pounds from a crane failed and almost, like I said, crushed me. So after that moment, I sort of decided that I've had so many close calls in my lifetime that maybe it was time to just sort of pursue my hopes and dreams. And over the past 7 years, I've chased exactly that. Almost every single dream I've had since I was a young child with the Desert Tiger podcast, with being a musician. I'm a big fan of pro wrestling. I work inside of that industry now too. I took one of the lowest moments of my life and I turned it into chasing my dreams.
Oh, and I have to know, I have to acknowledge we're both wearing the same color, but your shirt is get a little bit different than mine. You're a big Saskatchewan Roughriders fan, I see.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, been born and raised.
there you go. So, tell us about some of the tools you use. Obviously, your podcast was a tool that you use, but tell us a little bit about how you got through those times when you didn't have a lot of support around you.
Well, as I sort of detailed there was a few different times where maybe things weren't as easy as they could have been, or where maybe things looked a little darker than maybe they actually ended up being. When it came to like recovering from alcoholism, I was trying to invest myself into various different things, whether that be my career. I started to do a lot of like meditation. I started to do Tai Chi. I started to write a lot more poetry when it came to like the PTSD. That maybe took a little bit longer, but like I said, eventually actually getting into the music and actually sort of taking those things. But all of these things like wouldn't also be possible if it wasn't for some really good friends and some really good family. Just I have a lot of people that I am very thankful to call solid rocks inside of my life.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, do you what was the moment though? I've talked to a lot of people. I'm in recovery as well. I struggle with addiction, and I've been in and out of recovery for about 10 years now. I'm back in it. I've got a great community of support, and I'm so thankful for the people that are just surrounding me right now. But my question for you is, how did you get to that place where you went, wow, this is not working for me. I need help. Because I think that's that biggest hurdle for people to be for people to get that extra support and that extra help. What was that moment for you like?
Um, so in terms of like addiction recovery, very probably partly because I drank myself into the hospital a couple times, so my body couldn't keep up with the pace that I was trying to move at. And then secondly, I lost my grandfather, like my actual like maternal grandfather, my mom's dad, at the age of 65, and he himself too, very much a drinker, and he tried for years. He had actually, like the year beforehand, had been in recovery, and just sort of like hearing his experience and everything else and just sort of seeing how he went about things sort of just helped to influence like my decision to eventually, because like at first I didn't take it properly at all, like I went off the deep end, but once again I put myself in the hospital and I realized I'm doing the exact same thing that he was doing, and I'm probably going to end up in a grave at a much younger age than he did if I continue to do this. And it was a very life-changing realization.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations. That's so great that you're. I know I hear this from a lot from old timers and in groups that they're like, man, I wish I would have done this when I was your age. I wish I would have gone there when I was younger. So that's great. And I think today we live in such a world where it's socially acceptable to put toxins into our bodies, but that's my opinion. So can you tell us a little bit about your mental health path? Which path did you choose? Did you choose more of the medical aspects, or did you choose more of a holistic path? And why?
Um, so the path wasn't necessarily easy for myself, and I know that it's not easy for a lot of people either. The like in terms of the alcoholism, like that was more, I got put on a lot of like antidepressants and otherwise just because that's what some doctors thought would help the situation. In terms of like PTSD, that's when I first got PTSD, that's when we started to realize that like I had more of a history of depression and anxiety, and these things had been playing a factor inside of my life choices for a very long time now. And the first doctor I had didn't even believe in PTSD. So when I say that like it was a long road to actually find help, I probably went through about four different counselors before I found one that actually like I connected with and I felt wanted to help me. And like there was different medications, there was so many different things that like I had to go through, but eventually it was more so just finding a balance between like going to therapy, getting like the tools that helped me to actually get through some of these difficulties. And that's just one thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize is there are so many various different tools. Like I mentioned, I had gone to Tai Chi and these other things before. I didn't realize that those were tools. And do I still do some of those things now? No. But those were tools that I needed at the time that helped me get through the time. And that's a very important thing too, is sometimes some things are temporary. Sometimes things will help you for a moment. Some things will be there for you for a long time, hopefully your community. But it's healing takes time. Healing is a day-to-day process. So I'd say I found a balance between those two things.
When you talk about creating a community, how did you create a community of support around you?
Part of it was I needed to accept some of the help that was available to me, whether that be through some of my family. Like when I had my accident, that was probably the last time that I said that I was close to, we'll use the term relapsing. And it's like, had I not accepted the option to go home, like, and just hang out at my mom's farm for like a few days and just completely just take myself away from everything, things may have been a little bit different. But it's part of it was just accepting and creating it. And like I said, it took me a while to find the counselors that did help me and were able to assist me. And that was just me just wanting to be able to fix these things, to be able to make the most of the opportunity that I had left, because the opportunities that I did have almost got taken away from me, not just once, but probably a few times. And it's, oh, it was a matter of I just knew that I wanted this more than anything. I wanted to heal. I wanted to take the steps, and I wasn't willing to take no for an answer. I wasn't willing to take PTSD doesn't exist for an answer. And also just having like really solid friends. And did some of the friends that I had who were maybe a part of my network beforehand drop off once I wasn't partying with them and otherwise too? Yes, but the friends that stuck around, I'm still glad to say that they are my greatest friends, my best friends, and honestly, without them, wouldn't be here.
Oh. Can you, if somebody's watching right now and maybe they're sober curious or they have concerns about their mental health, uh, what words of support could you give them, or what sort of message of hope could you give somebody right now?
Well, I always like to say that you have strength inside of you. Everybody has beauty. Everybody has just that strength. One thing that I end off every podcast with is tell the people that you love them, and find your roar and let it on out into the world. It's, you have something beautiful to offer to the world. It's just find that thing, and then, like I say, take that roar and share it.
All right, well, let's talk about your podcast, the Desert Tiger podcast. Tell us a little bit about that process and how you decided to take the step. You don't have that background; you have a background in music, so I guess that it is quite very similar. But can you tell us about how you got into podcasting?
Well, like I said, it's, well, podcasting wasn't a childhood dream of mine because podcasting didn't exist when I was a child, but Much Music existed. And I wanted to be a Much Music video DJ because they got to like be around all the cool musicians, get to do the interviews and all of these other things. And then eventually, when I became a musician, I just sort of saw a need inside of specifically the Canadian music industry. Maybe it was Western Canada, maybe it was just overall, where certain like aspects where like a lot of artists weren't really getting like a representation of themselves. And I found that like a lot of people wanted to know more about the artist, like a lot of the people that they're supporting, they want to know more about them. I mean, we're in the social media age where you're a lot more connected with the people who you follow and otherwise. So why shouldn't those people have an opportunity to take you a little bit further? And I saw that need inside of it, but in reality, it was at one point, like you said, I was a musician and I was touring around, but unfortunately, one day I ended up having my wrist got shattered, And I couldn't play music for 7 months. I couldn't work my day job for 7 months. I mean, like I could write, but that was about it. So I just sort of, like I said, I saw this need that existed inside of an industry that I already loved and was a part of. And even though I didn't have radio experience, I just sort of figured, well, what harm is there in taking the shot and just seeing what can become of this? And over the last 4 plus years, it's actually become so much more than I actually like thought it would become, because it's not only has it become a platform for the artist to like explain who they are with their audience and to a potential new audience, but it also serves as a way for people to find different backgrounds, different stories, maybe something that they connect with, maybe something that inspires them. And just hearing the feedback from people who just do get exactly that, inspired from these stories, from backgrounds, and the community that I've been able to sort of build from just different backgrounds, experiences, and otherwise has just been really beautiful.
And ask you a really tough question. So, what is your most memorable interview?
Okay, so very tough question indeed, because I've had the opportunity to interview some idols of mine, musicians that I've been listening to for well over 20, 25 years. I just interviewed one of the members of the Tea Party, like, so those types of answers, very, very easy. But I've also had the chance to have some very powerful conversations, and those ones are definitely the ones that have stuck with me. So, two interviews that definitely stand out. The first one is an artist named Danny Blueberry. Danny is an incredible individual who has released his first album after about 30 years of waiting to do so, just because he grew up in a very like a very religious community, we'll say, and just the views of the type of music that he was creating and otherwise just weren't exactly the greatest. And the risks that this man went through to chase or just to even do something that he's dreamed about his entire life, and even the risk, like, there was one moment where he wasn't sure if he was ever going to see his daughter again. And in order to like share that like he would always be with her or like have her in his mind, he actually has a custom guitar company called Blueberry Guitars, and it's named after his daughter. And that conversation just always just it's incredible. And then the other one is one with a friend of mine named Lexi J. She's the singer of a pop duo named Featurette. And she recently did an alternative version of a song called The Blame, where in the video she actually like very much referenced sexual assault issues that she had been facing for a long time. And it was sort of her coming out and sort of taking control of her own narrative again. And to be able to facilitate that conversation, to be trusted with that conversation by a friend, it just meant the world to me.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and your podcast. If people would like to take a listen, where can they go to check out Desert Tiger Podcast?
Awesome. I've had a blast chatting here too, but you can check out the DTP on really anywhere podcasts are available. We release video episodes on our YouTube page, which is Colton G Desert Tiger. And then you can also look up Desert Tiger Podcast wherever you get podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Like, there's We're on like 60 different aggregators. So really anywhere you get your podcast, chances are you can find us. If you can't, send me an email so that I can make this happen.
All right. And how did you get the name Desert Tiger Podcast? How did you name it?
So I'm actually a little bit of a nerd, and back when I was 19, I wanted to name a record label, Desert Tiger, and the name Desert Tiger is actually taken from an anime that I used to watch back when I was in high school, called Gundam Seed, and there was an antagonist who becomes a protagonist, and his nickname in the show was the Desert Tiger. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So when I started the podcast, it was actually the same month that I moved to Kamloops. And Kamloops technically is a desert, and they used to have a zoo here. And at the zoo, they used to have an attraction called Zeph the Tiger. So I just sort of figured that poetically, it just had to happen.
I love it. All right. Colton, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Hey, I wish you a very Merry Christmas as well, and thank you for having these powerful conversations with Dana.
All right. Well, if you are struggling with addiction, don't worry. There is hope out there. I know for me, what I had to change in my life was everything. And I have, and it's been with the support of a supportive community and a wonderful sponsor and a group of women that every day are showing up in my life, sending me texts of support. And it's not easy. Every single day, I want to throw my hands up. I want to, yell or scream or just, but I just keep going and that's really all I can do. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, but every single day I get back up and I keep moving on. This right here, this is a key. And I can't announce yet what this little key is, but I've been working for 2 years now. I think I would have gotten there a little bit sooner had I just faced the reality of, hey, my life works better when I'm not drinking in my life. I show up for my family. I show up for the people that I care about. And for that, I am so thankful for the amazing community that I have today. Thank you so much for watching. Also, there are, as I said, there are helplines out there. There's websites out there if you want to get help. There's addictions lines 1-866-332 2322. There's so much support out there, you guys. You just have to take that first step. All right, well, have a wonderful night. I'm not trying to get too preachy. But I know I've never heard one person say that they regretted getting better and working on their recovery. So there you go. Have a wonderful night. And again, tomorrow night, join us for another Hope During the Holidays segment on Sun Valley Community Television. Have a wonderful night.